Hong Kong is known for its world-class education system and fierce competition to get into elite schools. Yet while many students thrive in this fast-paced environment, others face certain barriers that make academic success feel out of reach. In Hong Kong, over 8% of the student population identifies as part of an ethnic minority, with diverse communities contributing to the city's rich culture. However, statistics reveal that minority students are consistently left behind in education. In the last 5 years, just 1 in 10 ethnic minority students who studied under the local curriculum secured a government-subsidized spot at a public university. That's a success rate far below the 1 in 4 for their Chinese-speaking peers. In a city like Hong Kong, renowned for being an international hub of education, why do so many ethnic minority students still struggle to find a level playing field? And what can be done to bridge this gap? Renowned French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu's theory of social capital highlights that children from upper social classes have considerably more chances to succeed than those from lower social classes, an idea that resonates strongly with Hong Kong's education system.
I come from a not like well-off family, but like we're doing all right.
Financial hardship is a major challenge for many ethnic minority families in Hong Kong. In fact, the median monthly income for ethnic minorities was $4,920 in 2021, substantially lower than the median of $18,000 for the general working population.
In Hong Kong, we need to go for tutorial classes. So this is also one big part about money, because if you're poor, you can't even afford for it. So what I think is rich people can definitely be more available for these kind of resources, because even in the school system, you get more chance of learning like things like STEM, sports, and even music.
Hong Kong's secondary schools are categorized into bands, with Band 1 being the most prestigious and competitive. As a result of their limited resources, many minority students find themselves in Band 3 schools, which generally have fewer opportunities, further limiting their future.
Having more financial power definitely helps more, because you get into better schools with higher banding. So in Hong Kong, there are 3 bandings: Band 1, Band 2, and Band 3. And usually the better ones in Band 1, which obviously offers you a better school environment, better teachers, and obviously better peers. You can easily, well, if you have the financial power, you can also easily get into them, because usually those that are not funded by the government will cost you quite a high price.
However, financial background isn't the only obstacle these students face. Language barriers pose another significant hurdle for minority students in Hong Kong. With only 29.4% of ethnic minority students speaking Cantonese at home, many struggle to fully engage in classrooms where Cantonese is the primary language of instruction, hindering their ability to keep up with their peers academically.
In a lot of local schools in Hong Kong, we use Cantonese to communicate. So there is definitely a language barrier. So even for my school, it's called the English school, which we, like for a lot of our course texts and subjects, we teach in English. But in our extracurriculars, or like after class, we definitely communicate in Chinese, in Cantonese. So as a non-local student, they will definitely feel some language barrier, because especially for those who are not ethnically Chinese.
While international schools could provide an alternative learning environment, they are often out of reach financially. This leaves so-called designated schools as a more accessible option. These schools use English or other languages as the medium of instruction, with less emphasis on Chinese. However, this comes at a cost, creating challenges that extend beyond the classroom.
In Hong Kong, if you don't speak Cantonese, it's a major problem, because like people around you speak Cantonese, and if you don't, it's like some companies may think you are like it's harder for you to mix in and like communicate. So they are they are likely to hire a person who knows Cantonese than a non-Cantonese person.
Proficiency in Cantonese is crucial for many careers, and without this language skill, many individuals find themselves limited to low-paying manual labor roles. The result is an intergenerational cycle of poverty that many families find difficult to escape.
DSE में I think it's quite difficult और बहुत मुश्किल होती है, but I think कि वो लोग जो classes provide करते हैं, it's not very sufficient, बहुत उतनी मदद नहीं होती जितनी होनी चाहिए. Plus my parents जो immigrants है and due to their work as chef and a domestic helper, they can't provide that much time. इतना हेल्प नहीं कर पाते मुझे और उसके कारण मुझे बहुत इश्यूज होती है and I think it's a bit difficult.
In 1997, following the handover from the British, the Education Bureau mandated Chinese as the primary teaching language, which led to designated schools for non-Chinese speaking, or NCS, students. This was widely criticized by concern groups such as Hong Kong Unison and the Equal Opportunities Commission for promoting de facto racial segregation. The policy ended in 2013, with the Bureau urging broader NCS enrollment across schools. However, disparities persist, as even a decade later, proportions of minority students across schools remain uneven. This competition and segregation benefits certain groups, particularly wealthy Cantonese-speaking families. This has also fueled a booming private tutoring industry, valued at $255 million, which sees tutor kings and queens who attain pop star status. Around 85% of senior secondary students attend these sessions to gain a competitive edge, while NCS students with limited resources struggle to keep up.
They are discriminating against kids. That is what is not right. That is what is morally incorrect.
Advocates like Manoj Dar from Integrated Brilliant Education have long campaigned for more inclusive policies, suggesting better integration into mainstream schools rather than concentration in designated schools. The number of NCS students has been rising over the last 2 decades, and government funding for Chinese enhancement programs has doubled in the last 10 years, with over $500 million allocated for the 2021 to 2022 school year. However, schools have not been proactive in making use of these NCS grants. So what can be done to create a more equitable education system? First, the Education Bureau can promote greater enrollment of minorities in mainstream schools by establishing clear performance targets for schools receiving NCS funding to ensure measurable improvements. Additionally, the Bureau should focus on developing Chinese as a second language programs, with curriculum tailored specifically to the needs of second language learners. Secondly, schools can provide context and notes in English, such that students are able to keep pace with their peers. To reduce barriers for minority students joining clubs and societies with a Chinese majority, schools can track participation rates, setting targets for minority involvement, and preventing exclusion. Lastly, partnerships with NGOs and community centers can further provide mentorship, guidance, and additional educational resources. Offering targeted scholarships for underprivileged minority students will also go a long way in ensuring they have access to the same opportunities as their peers. By giving ethnic minority students in Hong Kong more financial, linguistic, and social support, our potential solution aimed to equalize their levels of social, cultural, and economic capital described by Bourdieu. Capital is the world's social currency, and no student should have to pay the cost.